4. So we're going to do, okay, Project 4 is in, I believe, all 5 lessons of Unit 4. Okay, so Lesson 16, Activity, what, 4? Yeah. Okay, up here in the directions, it says Project 4 CER. It's basically what's called a close reading assignment. And you click here, click this link for the article. Okay. It will expand it out, right? So, busting a myth about how chemotherapy works. Alrighty, so basically what this article is about is that what we've always been told about chemotherapy may not be true. The way that chemotherapy was believed to have worked was that it killed fast-growing cells, which is what tumor cells are. Cancer cells are cells that just divide, right? Which is one of the reasons why chemo, you lose all your body hair, because your hair rapidly divides, it grows, and so chemo kills those types of cells, which is why your hair falls out. All right. Well, what they found is that, obviously some types of cancers either don't respond to chemotherapy at all, or they do respond, but the person goes into remission and then cancer comes back. Alrighty. So, what they discovered, okay, is that why some the question is why some cancers respond to chemotherapy and others do not. Okay, so that's right here. All right. So basically, they don't know why chemotherapy works the way it does. All right, that's the gist of this article. Okay. So for Project 4, gives the claim or argument, okay, the author is making. So basically, like I just said, crud, hang on a second. There we go. They don't know why chemotherapy works. All right, we don't know why it works. A quote. All right, to supply. There are so many cases of cancer that seem to grow rapidly and resist chemotherapy, and too many that grow slowly and respond well to chemotherapy. So where's the disconnect? Okay, why doesn't chemotherapy eradicate either work for all cancers or none, right? Because if the medication's effective, it should either work or it won't. Okay, there shouldn't be, well, it might work for you. They don't, doctors doesn't prescribe you medication and go, well, I hope this works. Keep your fingers crossed. You know what I mean? That doesn't happen with anything else, Okay, so that's lesson 16. Just those 2 questions. Okay, you with me so far, Jacqueline? Okay. All right, so let's go on to lesson 17, cell cycle. Okay. Give another quote for the claim that you chose in lesson 16. So, chemotherapy doesn't work the way we think it does. So you're giving 2 different quotes. So you gave one quote you gave the claim, right, and one quote from lesson 16. Now you're giving 2 additional quotes. All right, 2 separate ones. Alrighty, so here's one. Chemotherapy has cured millions of people, but we don't know why it works. Alrighty. We don't. The answer doesn't. Answer does not explain why some cancers respond to chemotherapy and others not. All right. Now, the reason for it is what they've found is that there are certain cells, certain cancer cells that realize that are given chemical signals they kind of know what's going on. They know that they are not functioning right properly. And when cells aren't doing their jobs anymore, they're programmed to die. All right, so when cells are programmed to die, they have sequences in their DNA called primers, and those primers will basically shut the cell down and kill it. Right, it will literally dissolve. Okay, and what they found is that chemotherapy works very, very well with cells that are already programmed to die anyway. Okay. All right, so this is in the mitochondria. Remember, mitochondria have their own DNA. So some cancer cells are more ready to commit suicide than others, right? They're more ready, they're more primed, right, to die. Okay, those are the ones that respond really well to chemotherapy. Those that are not, those that have no idea that they're screwed up in any way, they're kind of like, zombies. They don't know that they're zombies. You know what I mean? They just know that they need to eat brains. Okay, so those are the ones that will not respond to chemotherapy. Okay, or if they do, the cancer's going to come back. Alrighty. So we found the patients who did best after chemotherapy were the ones with the most primed leukemia cells. These patients were the ones who stay in remission after chemotherapy. Okay? So many patients with this kind of leukemia, it's AML, AL stands for leukemia, respond to chemotherapy and never relapse. Whereas other patients do not respond at all or respond but eventually relapse. Okay? Alrighty. Okay, so just give 2 additional quotes for lesson 17. That's all you're doing. Okay, now lesson 18 goes into more of what I just explained. Okay, this is the last lesson for this article, right? Alright. So basically, you're just telling me how what you told me from lessons 16 and 17, how this supports the claim, right? So basically, the claim was that chemotherapy doesn't work the way we think it does, right? The 2 evidences that you gave me from lesson 17, the 2 quotes, how do the 2 evidences that you gave in 17 support the author's claim from lesson 16? So what that means is, how do the 2 quotes you provided in 16 support the fact that chemotherapy doesn't work the way we think it does? All right. So basically, you're going to tell me that cells that are more primed to die anyway are the ones that are going to respond to chemo. Those that are not either A, not going to respond, or B, they're going to respond, but the cancer's going to come back. All right. So there's 2 ways that it could go. All right. So that's it. That's the first 3 lessons. All right. So far, so good? All right. If you ever get confused, just, give me a shout out, okay? Alrighty. Onion root tip. Now, you do not need to buy anything for the rest of the course, okay? So everything you need materials for were just the first 3 projects. So projects 4, 5, and 6, you will need no materials for. Just to let you know. Alrighty. So lesson 19, we're giving the 4 stages of mitosis in order. Okay, there's only 4 stages: prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. Interphase is not a phase of mitosis. Interphase is where the cell is doing its normal everyday activities. It's growing, it's taking in food, if it's a lung cell, it's taking in oxygen, pumping out carbon dioxide. If it's a liver cell, it's filtering out your blood. It's doing what it's supposed to do. Okay, 80% of the spell, Mr. Brown talking, take 2. Boop. 80% of the cell's time is spent in interphase. About 20% is spent in mitosis. Okay, mitosis is the division of the nucleus. Okay, that is prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. Okay, so that is the division of the nucleus. Cytokinesis technically not part of mitosis. Part of the process of that stage of the cell, but not a cytokinesis has no bearing on the division of the nucleus. Cytokinesis literally means the division of the cytoplasm, which is separate. Okay, so just those 4 phases: prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. All right. So, okay. So what you're gonna do? Oh, before I really start. Okay. So in here, activity 5. So you're gonna click here in the instructions. Click here. Boink. Okay. You're gonna get this to come out. All right. All right. So, okay. Question 2. Explain why root tips are a good place to observe mitosis. Okay. If you go down here, see there's the 4 phases of mitosis. It's in the packet. Read the packet, please. Okay. Print it out. You can even print it out. I did. See, in the root tip lab. There it is. Alrighty. Okay. So 4 phases of mitosis right there. Alright. And here it is, second question. The root tip of a plant is responsible for the plant's growth downward into the soil. Cells are therefore actively dividing and or elongating, making root tips excellent observation points for mitosis. Boom, there's your answer. Okay. So everything you need so far is in the first half of a page of the packet. Okay. All right, so give a brief summary of the lab. So what you're going to do in this lab is you're given a, let me bring it up here. All right, so lab purpose. Oh, look at that. Identify the phases of mitosis the cells are going through and estimate the length of time mitosis takes in each phase of cells on onion root tip. There's your lab purpose. Done. Okay? Look at that. All 3 questions answered on the first page. Alrighty? And you haven't even done anything yet. You've just read the first page. This is only, well, it's 3, but the last is, yeah, procedure. Okay? Alrighty. Okay. Boom. That's it. That's all you're doing. Okay, now lesson 20. Lesson 20 is where I know that you actually did the experiment. All right. Okay, so it gives the correct number, percentage, and time for cells in prophase. Okay, so I actually did this myself. Alrighty, so you can see I had to tally each one, count up all the cells. Okay, so in your lab, on your packet, I'm sorry. All right, so we're looking at just at this. You'll see this on the second page. The cells that are blank, like there's nothing in this cell, for example. All right, there's nothing that's completely blank. The reason for it, that cell is an interphase. Okay, so you're not going to count that. You're only going to count the cells that have pink. Those are the ones that are going through mitosis. All righty. So you are literally, I had to count off each cell and basically what I thought the stage it was in. Okay? So, for example, all right, let's use this one. This one right here. Okay? So this cell right here looks like it's going through anaphase. Okay? Because the chromosomes are being pulled apart. Alrighty, there is no cell divider being formed between the chromosomes yet. Okay, so this is an anaphase. Now, like for example, this one. All right, this one you can see chromosomes, but what's going on? If you can see, that's pink, and B, but you really can't tell what's going on with the chromosomes, that's prophase. Okay? If it just looks like a mash of generalized stuff like this as well, prophase. Okay? If you can see that their chromosomes have formed, but you can't tell if they're in, like for example, this is a good one. This one's in metaphase because everything's in the center. All right, everything's in the center. Okay. So if you can't tell if they're being pulled apart, if they're in the center, all right, it's prophase. This one here, this is a good one. I don't know if you actually, you know what, let's do this one. This one on the far left, my screen might be too small, but if you pull this up, you'll be able to see. You can actually see the cell wall beginning to form in the center here. And when the chromosomes are all on the far, far, far ends of the cell, okay, when they're both at the far, far, far ends, that's telophase. All right? Okay, this one, telophase. Like here, where they're just starting to get pulled apart, metaphase. When they're already at the ends of the cell, telophase. Okay. Okay, and if you can't tell what in the wide, wide world of sports is going on, prophase. Like that. It's just a jumble of chromosomes. All right? So you're going to have, I counted 95 cells. All right, total. All right? Okay, so I had a tally. I went through each cell and marked if I thought, if it was in I put P for prophase, A for anaphase, M for metaphase, T for telophase. All right? And then I went through and I counted all the P's, tallied them up. I made my little tally marks, right? And then I counted. I added them all up. Then I did the same for metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. And I got a total. Okay, I got 95 cells. Whether that's right or not, I have no idea. Okay, I just did this once. All right, you may count and get 97. Okay, maybe you're right. I don't know. All righty, so you should have roughly 100 cells, give or take. All right, so then you calculate a percentage, right? And to do a percentage, we're going to do a little math. I know. So I had 95 cells total. Okay. So 51 cells I counted were in prophase. So the vast majority, all right, were in prophase. Okay, so I divide 51 divided by 95. All right, let me get a calculator here. Hang on. So I rounded when I did this. 3.7. All right, and this is you get 53.5368. All right. All right, if you multiply that by 100, that percentage, you get 5.68%. All right. I rounded that to the nearest whole percent, so I put 54. 54%. Okay, so that's my percentage of cells. So you can see 54%. Okay, that was my percentage of cells in prophase. Okie dokie. So, sorry, I just need more space. Now, how to calculate the time. It gives you the formulas for all of this stuff. Alrighty, on the bottom, actually, on page 3. Okay, it gives you the formulas for how to calculate, okay, how to calculate percentage, okay, and then how to get the time. Alrighty. Okay, so my percentage, remember, was, before I rounded, 53.68%. All right. Now, to get the time, I have to then divide, and this tells you everything in the third page. Alrighty, so tells you everything right down here, this very last formula. Okay, that's all I'm doing. So I take this and I divide it by 100%. Okay, all that's going to do is get me back to a decimal place. All right, my original decimal, what I had before I multiplied by 100 and rounded. Okay. All right, and you're like, great, Brett Brown, what now? All right, so it takes about 80 minutes, an hour, so about an hour and 20 minutes, for an onion cell to go through mitosis completely. So to divide, to begin the division, and finish it, 80 minutes. Okay, to go through all 4 stages and have 2 new cells. All right. So if this is the percentage of time spent in prophase, well, how much time is it spent total? So there's 80 minutes, all right, of total mitosis time. All right, 0.5368 is spent in, of that 80 minutes, is spent in prophase. All right, so how much? So it's just over half of the time is spent in prophase of this 80 minutes. All right, so you multiply 0.5368 times 80. Okay, and you come out with, oops, it's like 42.9. I'm rounding it up to 43. Okay, so it asks you for time spent. Okay, time spent in minutes, 43. All right, so prophase takes the longest. You go through metaphase, anaphase, which is the shortest, and then telophase. Okay, and that's it. That's all you're doing. And then you're going to tell me, okay, how much, okay, so you should, don't give me like 5 cells, 5 cells, 5 cells, 5 cells. I'm going to know that you didn't do this, okay? All right, percentage should add up to 100, right? Because you're doing, there's only 4 phases. You add them all up, they should all be 100%. That's 100% of mitosis, okay? And the time for each phase should add up to 80, right? Because there's 80 total minutes. Well, 43 of them are spent at prophase alone. All right, so there's 37 other minutes you've got to account for. So I've had kids tell me the whole thing takes 7 minutes long. Did you even read this? Like, really? No. Okay, 80 minutes. Yes, add up, your time has to add up to 80. Alrighty, question 2. Okay, gives the correct step as the longest lasting. It's prophase. Why? There's a lot of stuff going on in prophase. Okay, the chromosomes have to form. The nuclear membrane has to break down. The spindle fibers have to form. Okay, there's a lot of things going on. All right. Okay, anaphase is the shortest. You should have the shortest amount of time for anaphase, because the only thing that's happening is the identical chromosomes are being pulled apart. That's it. So that takes the fastest time. Okay? Alrighty. Explains why the cell cycle is continuous. Make sure you're using data from the lab. The cell cycle is continuous because organisms constantly need to grow. They need to repair damaged tissue. Like if you get injured, you have to, if you get a scrape or a cut, you have to repair that. Okay. And also to replace dead or dying cells, right? Skin cells slough off and die all the time. You have to replace those. All right. So there's 3 reasons to prevent for growth, to heal damaged tissue if you get injured, okay, and to replace dead or dying cells. That's why cell cycle is continuous. Does that make sense? Okay, good. So just remember, if you ever get confused on the formulas, here they are, last page. Number of cells divided by the total number of cells that you counted. I got 95 total. Is that right? I have no idea. Okay? That's what I got. As long as they're roughly between 90 and 100, you're okay. Alrighty? Then times 100%. And then whatever percentage you get from here, divide that by 100 and multiply it by 80. And that's your time. Okay? So it even says, in onion cells, mitosis takes about 80 minutes. So if you give me a time that adds up to like 17 minutes, I'm going to know that, well, number 1, you're an idiot. Number 2, you didn't read this. All right? But you're not going to do that, Jacqueline, because you are thorough, right? Okay. So yeah, it's just, that's it. Okay. Stop the recording. Seacrest out.